Don't act like you're my mom just because you failed med school. Get out of here. You're a disgrace.
She wasn't always this cruel. Since starting middle school, Amy has been going down a troubling path. Sure, it's great that she's focused on her studies and improving her grades. It's just like Amy to want to be the best at everything. But that doesn't give her the right to say whatever she wants. Even between parents and children, there are lines you shouldn't cross. It's as if she thinks it's okay to hurt people to get what she wants. I decided it was time to confront her. Well, I'm not your real mom anyway. I had reached my limit, so I decided to tell Amy the truth. Then Amy was stunned.
What?
Amy might be confused, but she needs to know the truth. She seems blinded by money and fame, ignoring what's truly important. I hope she'd change her ways, but maybe that's no longer possible. People who can't understand others' feelings will never truly succeed. Amy needs to think about what she's done and realize it's too late to regret it now. I'm Kate, 38 years old this year. I live with my husband and daughter, and I work at the local city office during the day. I've been working since I graduated high school, so I've been at this job for 20 years now. I'd say I'm fairly experienced at this point, but it turns out it suits me quite well. I never planned on working at the city office. Originally, I had no interest in this job. To explain why I've been a public servant for 20 years, I need to start with my family. I grew up in a family of 4 with my dad, mom, and older sister, Annie. Annie was always a top student and decided to take on the challenge of applying to one of the most prestigious departments, med school. She got in on her first try, but med school is incredibly expensive. There were extra costs for experiments, materials, and living expenses, on top of the usual tuition fees. And no matter how much money we had, it was never enough. Despite their modest income, our parents managed to support her dream. Even as a high schooler, I could see the strain it put on them. But Annie changed dramatically after moving to the big city for med school, and our family had no way of knowing. Annie, who had been dedicated to her studies throughout high school, became like a kite with its string cut, living alone in the big city. She started prioritizing fashion and socializing over studying. Every time she came home for a long break, she looked more polished. It felt strange seeing her transform so much, especially since I still lived at home even after becoming an adult. Seeing Annie, who had never been interested in fashion, become more and more stylish gave me a bad feeling. Meanwhile, I was studying hard to become a nurse. I had fond memories of a kind nurse who took care of me when I was hospitalized as a child, and I wanted to be like her. One day, when Annie was home for a visit, I confided my feelings to her. She listened to me and then laughed derisively.
Oh, you want to be a nurse, Kate? Nurses are just underlings for doctors. That's a weird thing to aspire to.
She waved her hand dismissively, clearly uninterested.
Well, good luck with that, I guess.
Her words stung, but I wasn't going to give up on my dream just because of her. I kept studying, but on the day of the entrance exam, I was too sick to perform well and ended up failing. It was a big blow, but seeing my parents struggle to support Annie, I couldn't bring myself to ask for more help. I didn't want to burden them any further. That was the one thing I wanted to avoid. Around that time, I saw a notice for a job opening at the neighboring city office and decided to give up on college and start working. I realized that becoming a nurse wasn't the only path in life. Besides, as the officials are public servants, they won't go bankrupt suddenly. Moreover, once I started working, I realized the job suited me quite well. and I found my daily work fulfilling. Even though I felt like my world had ended when I failed to get into college, I've come to see that this job suits me well. But now I think failing to get into college might have been a blessing in disguise, as it led me to a fulfilling job I really care about. One day, when I was still living at home, I was 20 years old. It was a Friday, and as I was eating dinner, thinking about what to do over the upcoming 3-day weekend, I heard someone come in through the front door. Rushing to the entrance, I saw Annie standing there. "Oh, it's Annie. Welcome back." Then Annie came in silently, looking like she was about to cry. "What's wrong? Something must have happened." At first, Annie just kept silent, but then she began to speak in bits and pieces. According to her, she was pregnant. Come to think of it, every time she came home, she talked about the guy she was dating, but it seemed like it was a different guy each time. "So, you're pregnant with your boyfriend's child?"
Yes, what should I do?
"The guy you talked about last time?"
And no, I broke up with him a long time ago. I don't even know.
In other words, she got pregnant without realizing it while dating different guys. She doesn't even know whose child it is. That's shocking. So, what are you going to do about the baby and college?
I can't just quit college now. It's too late to do anything about it.
She had been wondering why she hadn't gotten her period, and then she found out she was pregnant. Originally careless by nature, she realized she was pregnant too late to choose any other option but to have the baby. But the baby is going to be born, right? You need to think about what to do.
Please help me, Kate.
Facing a desperate Annie, I thought about it. Luckily, I was already working and had some income and free time. Should I take care of the baby in place of Annie, who is busy studying to become a doctor? But I wondered if I could really handle raising a child.
Hey, the baby is innocent, right? Help me out.
Indeed, the baby is innocent, and I can't let Annie's dream of becoming a doctor be crushed now. Since I wanted to go into medicine but couldn't, now that Annie is striving in that field, I should support her however I can.
I have to become a doctor. You're a public servant and have some free time. You can help me out.
While Annie's reasoning was infuriating, I couldn't just let the child suffer. I thought it would be difficult for emotionally immature Annie to raise a child. "Okay, I'll take care of the baby. But remember, you're the mother, Annie. Make sure to visit and take over when you're ready."
I get it. Thanks for your help until then.
The heavy atmosphere lifted, and she looked relieved all of a sudden. Even though I thought she was being selfish at that time, this was the only thing I could do. Annie named her daughter Amy and left her with me.
Take good care of Amy. I'll come to check on her later.
With those words, Annie never came to see Amy. I tried to contact her occasionally, but never got a reply. At this rate, it's hard to even know who the real mother is. I decided to treat Amy as my own daughter. Although Amy is Annie's child, she is incredibly dear to me. I resolved to give her all the love I could, for both me and Annie. When Amy was 2, I married my boyfriend at the time. He proposed, understanding that I was raising my niece as my own. His affection for Amy, as if she were his own child, was a big reason why I married him. Amy thinks of my husband as her real father. I thought I was doing my best to raise her, but there were a lot of difficult things. My husband works from morning till night and can't be involved in raising her. Naturally, I ended up handling everything on my own. I wonder if Amy feels something about her father not being around much as she started to become rebellious. It said that girls develop quickly, but I didn't expect her rebellious phase to come this soon. We've been clashing more often, but all I want is the best for Amy. I'd do anything that benefits her. Of course, I've also continued working to cover the expenses for Amy. When Amy was in the 6th grade, she said she wanted to apply to a private school.
I want to go to a private middle school.
A private middle school? What brought this on all of a sudden?
The uniform is really cute, and I just thought it'd be nice to wear it.
Indeed, it's a private school known for its cute uniforms, but it's also very demanding academically. It's tough to get in. You'll have to study hard. Can you do it?
Sure, I'll work hard.
She studied hard despite struggling and passed. Congratulations, Amy. You did it.
I'm so happy. I can't believe I passed.
With her enrollment in a girls' school, Amy transformed completely. Driven by a need to keep up with her peers, she became desperate to study. Her competitive nature may have suited her for this girls' school. But perhaps it was around this time that her competitive streak began to take a strange turn. Amy became obsessed with studying and getting good grades. Inherited from her mother, as her grades improved, her personality began to twist in odd directions.
I just can't believe people who don't study and just laze around. They're just idiots staying idiots. They're literally worthless.
Amy, life has many aspects. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. You can't just decide someone's life isn't worth living based on one aspect.
That's the kind of soft talk that gets you nowhere. It's about studying hard, topping your class, going to a good college, and making money. What's wrong with that?
What's gotten into you lately? Being good at studying doesn't make you a better person. Thinking that good students are superior and seeing nothing else is just like Annie's daughter. Indeed, Amy is following the same path as Annie, now aiming to take the medical school entrance exams.
The real earners are doctors, right? If you have the qualifications, you won't starve.
Although Amy doesn't know her mom, Annie, it seems you can't fight genetics. I supported Amy to the fullest so she could achieve her goals. From tutoring classes to exams and the considerable expense of application fees, all were for Amy's dream. However, Amy seems to take my support for granted. Moreover, if something doesn't go her way, she takes it out on me. One day, while at her prep school, Amy called me.
Hey Mom, can you come pick me up?
What? What's going on all of a sudden? Did you forget your train pass? Amy usually takes the train to her prep school, so it was unusual for her to ask for a ride.
No, it's just starting to drizzle.
A drizzle? Oh, right. There's a fold-up umbrella in your bag. Then, I could hear Amy sighing over the phone.
Like, don't you even think about what if I catch a cold? You're really clueless. This is why I hate having a dumb mom.
Her attitude, completely disregarding how her words might affect others, disappointed me. But Amy, I'm at work right now and I'll be home late today. It's a busy period.
What? You mean you won't come pick me up even though I'm asking you to? What if I get sick because of your job? Just anyone's job? Will you take responsibility then?
I could picture her blaming me over the phone. But this wasn't just about today. Whether it's her rebellious phase or she's looking down on me, her dismissive attitude continues. We once had a talk with my husband and me to address her behavior, but now it seems like it was all in vain. At some point, she started believing that having the academic ability to aim for medical school made her superior. Being fawned over at school for her academic achievement seems to be fueling her delusions. However, with exams being unpredictable, I thought it best not to provoke Amy unnecessarily, so I held my tongue. As usual, her biological mother, Annie, hasn't been in touch at all. It seems she's too busy with work, ignoring all my attempts to contact her. Lately, Annie appears to be in high demand as a cosmetic surgeon on TV and in magazines. So I understand she's busy, but does that mean she doesn't care about her own daughter? In these moments, I wonder what Annie would do, but I continue to support Amy in any way I can. Perhaps Amy is just going through a difficult phase, and once this rebellious period is over, we might be able to have a pleasant conversation again. But little did I know, my hopes would soon be shattered. As the college entrance exam season approached, Amy became more irritable than ever. It's a significant turning point in her life, so her tension is understandable. Having once failed to perform well in an exam due to illness, I don't want Amy to experience the same. I did everything I could to support her, but every time we met, she would glare at me or click her tongue in annoyance. Despite feeling frustrated, I calmed myself down, reminding myself it was all for Amy's sake. All her hard work paid off, and Amy successfully got into college.
Oh, exams are finally over. Now I can start my life as a college girl.
Congratulations. I always believed you would make it.
Well, what else would you expect from me?
However, the real problems began thereafter. Amy, perhaps too excited about becoming a college student, started to let loose a bit too much. The day after learning she passed, her lifestyle began to spiral out of control. She would stay in bed until noon, munching on snacks that could hardly be considered breakfast or lunch, never taking her eyes off her phone. Considering her previously studious life, I tried to overlook this behavior until she started college. But as her disordered living habits persisted and her attendance at school became sporadic, I could no longer overlook it. If she continued this way, she would struggle once her new life began. To make matters worse, it seemed she had been using my credit card without my permission. After seeing purchases I didn't recognize on last month's statement, I confronted her, and she admitted to the shopping. Look, I get that you're happy about your college acceptance, but your recent behavior is over the top. Your daily rhythm is a mess.
But I passed, so now I want to enjoy the rest of my high school life as I please.
Do whatever you want. That includes shopping with my credit card without asking.
What? I needed the card for the website, which doesn't take anything else. Your nitpicking over every little thing is exactly why I can't stand mothers. Seriously, this is just pathetic.
Amy didn't take well to being scolded and kept grumbling.
I really wanted to live on my own, you know.
This came out of nowhere after she had finished her college entrance exams. Amy was supposed to commute from our home to the college she would attend starting. What? Live on your own? Why are you bringing this up all of a sudden? We're not even talking about that now.
I wanted to experience college life on my own terms, but since I got into a college that's commutable from home, I can't.
I thought she was happy about getting into her first choice college, but it turns out she was dissatisfied because it was within commuting distance from home.
If I lived on my own, I wouldn't have to deal with all this nagging.
Once Amy got upset, it was hard to get her in a good mood again. But having seen Amy's behavior all this time, I couldn't stay silent. Then Amy brought up something outrageous.
Don't act like a mom when you failed to get into med school. A failure like you should just leave.
What? Why?
I know about it. Failed med school and clung to a job anyone could do, right?
I was stunned by what Amy was saying. Frozen and unable to respond, Amy, seeing that I didn't retort, threw more words at me.
I found your name on an old exam ticket that fell out of the bookshelf. You failed med school, so don't preach to me like a big shot.
The exam ticket from the college I once applied to was kept as a bitter reminder and a bookmark in my bookshelf. I never imagined Amy would find it and throw it in my face. That's irrelevant right now, isn't it?
Because you act all high and mighty. If you just left, I could do whatever I want. Dad hardly ever comes home anyway, so it's practically like I'm living alone.
Then Amy pointed at the front door and said to me,
Come on, get out of here. It's embarrassing to be seen with someone so stupid.
she was a rebellious daughter in a sulk. Should I just accept that? But I had reached my limit. I couldn't believe how carelessly she was speaking, not understanding the difference between right and wrong. It's time to tell her the truth. Maybe it's natural that I don't understand your feelings.
What? What are you talking about all of a sudden?
Well, I'm not your biological mother. Amy looked at me, unable to hide her shock. No wonder. Until now, I had kept silent, not wanting to hurt her. But there's no reason to keep being considerate. So, I'm not really your mom. Maybe I shouldn't have bothered doing anything for you.
What?
Don't understand what I'm saying?
What? Are you planning to give up everything now? Don't you want to support your child as a mother?
I pulled out my smartphone and said to Amy, "Want to know who your biological mother is? It's Annie. You've seen her on TV, haven't you?"
What? That Annie, the cosmetic surgeon known as Once in a Millennium Beauty.
Yes, lately that's how she's described on TV. That woman is your biological mom. Amy looked at the smartphone in disbelief. It seemed she was looking up Annie on her phone.
No, wait, why?
Well, why don't you ask her that? Then, Amy started pacing around the room while holding her smartphone.
But Annie lives in one of the top exclusive neighborhoods in the city, has a room just for her designer bags, and another for her beauty treatments, as said on TV. That's my real home, huh?
Wait, what? You want to go live with Annie? I asked Amy.
Of course, I'd rather not stay in this crummy, tiny room in a poor-looking house.
A poor-looking house, huh?
I'm so tired of living with such an annoying mom. I thought if you just left, I could finally live my own life.
She kept glancing at her phone as she spoke.
No way that Annie is my mom? Is there really such a miraculous story? Well, you're useless to me now.
Amy pointed at me and laughed. Even I couldn't take it anymore. Certainly, from the public face of Annie, it's not hard to see why Amy would think that. But Annie is the kind of person who doesn't raise her own child. With a little thought, Amy could question why she wasn't raised by Annie, but she never did. She just treats me like the bad guy. I get it. You've made it clear how you feel about me. Well then, why don't you ask Annie to pay for your college?
Of course, that's my plan. She's rich enough to just hand over the money for her own daughter's tuition.
So you think that way. I raised you till you were an adult, but now you can go back to your real mom. I'm out of the picture, right? Then Amy looked at me with annoyance and nodded absent-mindedly. Then she answered dismissively.
Oh, that's fine. I'll be glad to be rid of someone as annoying as you.
I pulled out a piece of paper. Then sign here. It states you're leaving this house, will have no further contact with me, and you're relinquishing your rights to inheritance or anything else. That's fine with you, right?
What? talking all big about inheritance and stuff. As if there's anything of value anyway. You sure talk a big game.
Amy casually signed the document.
Here, are you happy now?
I silently took the papers. As soon as she handed over the documents, Amy quickly left the house.
I just go to the address you gave me, right? Finally, I can feel refreshed and even join the ranks of the wealthy.
Amy left without looking back. I'll try to believe this was for the best. In fact, a significant sum of money was supposed to come my way. My recently deceased parents owned a bit of land, and I had decided to sell it, expecting to make several $1,000,000. Thinking of Amy's tuition and the upcoming expenses, I had resolved to sell the land. But since Amy voluntarily signed the papers to give it all up, it must be her decision. Aside from Amy's absence, my life hasn't changed much. However, by mid-August, I received a call from Amy.
Hey, can you send me some money?
What's this all about? You said you didn't need money since your real mom has plenty, right? Holding back tears, Amy pleaded over the phone.
No, I might not be able to go to college.
Apparently, Amy hadn't yet paid the college entrance fees and other expenses. What do you mean? You can't enroll without paying the entrance fees and other dues, right?
What? You knew that? How insincere.
I had heard about it on TV and in the magazines. It was common knowledge. It seems that Annie's past misdeeds were exposed in a magazine that specializes in gossip, which caused her work to drastically decrease. To make matters worse, she made a serious medical error, and her reputation as a cosmetic surgeon plummeted. On TV, they mentioned Annie made a terrible medical mistake. After such an error, I doubt anyone would trust her anymore.
Aren't you taking this a bit lightly? What about my entrance fees?
Why don't you get your real mother to sort it out? I'm nothing to you now. Then Amy raised her voice over the phone.
So, you don't care what happens to me? I managed to get into med school.
Whether you go to college or med school, it really doesn't matter to me.
It should matter. I'm your daughter.
Well, I didn't ask you to go to med school. Besides, you were the one who said, "Don't act like my mother." On the phone, Amy seemed at a loss for words.
But I said that.
You were happy to get into med school, I'm sure. But don't you understand there are things you should and shouldn't say? Even a mother can't forgive everything.
But I don't understand what you're saying.
Amy sounded like she was about to cry, but I had to say what needed to be said. Well, I guess you wouldn't understand all of a sudden. Can we meet to talk about it later?
Yes, I want to see you.
After all the terrible things she did at home, and now she suddenly wants me. Amy's actions were not justifiable as mere rebellion or stress. It might be a kindness in a way to make sure Amy understands clearly. I arrived at the agreed-upon place with a thick envelope in hand. As Amy ran up to me, she said,
Thank goodness. The deadline to pay the entrance fee is the day after tomorrow.
Watching Amy as usual, the first thing she asks about is money.
So, the money?
Amy held out her hand to me. I placed the documents I took from the envelope into her hand.
What? What is this?
These are the documents we agreed upon.
Documents? What are you talking about?
Don't you remember? You'll understand if you look at them. I pointed to the documents already signed by us that terminated our parental ties and renounced any inheritance rights. I was only ever taking care of you, not your mom, and you were the one who said, "You are not my mom."
Sure, but...
You can't just say things that should never be said, hurt people with your words, and then expect help only when you're in trouble. That's not how it works.
That's so unfair.
I placed my hand reassuringly on Amy's trembling shoulder and said, "You were the one who wanted to cut ties and go live with your biological mother, renouncing everything. You need to own your words."
But I just said that in the moment.
And what? That makes it okay? You did nothing wrong?
Yes, well, maybe a little, but I was under a lot of stress.
Amy started to make excuses as if trying to justify herself. Stress from exams justifies saying things you shouldn't and hurting others?
Well, I didn't think a joke would hurt anyone.
Amy spoke uncomfortably, clearly not grasping the gravity of the situation. It was disappointing to see that all her explanations revolved solely around herself.
Look, I need Mom to become a doctor.
So you only need me when it's convenient for you. You really need to learn what it means to genuinely hurt someone.
What? You're kidding. What happens if I'm left alone?
I left the scene. Amy crouched back down at her original spot, looking down, but I didn't look back her. Ultimately, Amy couldn't pay her enrollment or tuition fees and couldn't enroll in college. Scholarships and such procedures couldn't be arranged so suddenly, so enrollment was impossible either way. Someone who genuinely doesn't understand others' feelings becoming a doctor is a troubling thought. Incidentally, Annie also tried to contact me later, but I blocked her without hesitation. Despite never contacting me before, it's typical that she would reach out only when she herself was in a pinch, like mother, like daughter. I'm now enjoying living with my husband again, something we haven't done in a while. I'm also struggling to pursue a long-held dream from my past. I remembered that I wanted to be a nurse. Sure, I can manage my current job since I've been at it so long, but it's not what I truly want to do. I thought I'd rather chase the dream I've always had than settle for the satisfaction and stability of my current job. Deciding to take on such a challenge at my age might seem bold, but I've decided to stop suppressing what I really want to do. Well, today I might as well continue studying for college entrance exams.